And good morning and welcome to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Bill Dixon and Michael Casey here with Coach John Reutebuch of the Wawasee Warriors, head football coach. Coach, tough one last night as the Wawasee Warriors took on their arch nemesis, the Warsaw Tigers. Give us your thoughts about the game.
Well, we learned a little something about ourselves that when we come out with passion and play hard, we can play with anybody. And Warsaw's a good football team. They're 6-1 now, and Coach Curtis has got them on the right track, and they bought in totally. And they run the flex bone, a very physical offense. And, we came out ready to go. And, they drove the ball down and scored the first touchdown, and we just shook that off and drove down and got our touchdown. And so, we didn't flinch. We didn't let that first drive get us down. So that was progress as far as our warrior grit and mentality. And then we got a turnover. And, we're in a position driving again. I would have liked to get a touchdown there, but a field goal, still we're on the board. We're up 10-7, and things are looking good, and the kids are excited, and things are going our way. With that offense, you're not going to shut them down. You're not going to stop them all the time. So, they get another drive to make it 14-10, and that's where we went into halftime. And the attitudes are great at halftime. We knew, there's going to be some adjustments on both sides at halftime, and we made a couple adjustments. We felt like we're good and had a plan here for the second half. And I would say, when we ran that fake punt, and that went sour, that's when the old head hanging went, and it seemed to snowball from there because they get a short field there and punch it in, and then onside kick, and our kid had it, and then it slipped out, and We missed our onside kick to start the game, which would have taken another possession away from them.
We actually didn't miss it. We got it.
However,
we had a guy that was just
unfortunately,
a little faster on
it's got to be legal. And
heck of a start, though. Man, that was, ooh, that was great.
Everybody was electric, and we felt like we had we had it. And we were just offsides, and we'd remind them. But those young kids that are on their special teams, they're excited to make a play, and unfortunately that didn't go our way. And so anyway, back to my point is, they take that onside kick and drive it down. So then all of a sudden, boom, it went from 14-10 to now it's 28-10, and that kind of sucked the air right out of it. Mm-hmm. And then with every team that plays a flexbone team, the fourth quarter is always the toughest because that's when it starts to wear down on you because it's constant piles, constant. And, I feel like the last several scores they got we were just worn down. We were worn out. And that's unfortunate because it's not indicative of how we played the game the first half, and it's not indicative of how we, played most of the game. But unfortunately, the final score looks almost identical to last year's score. But, the encouraging thing from the game is that we found our passion, and it's been lacking the last couple games. And one of the things I talked to the kids about in the locker room was, if we come out and play like we did in the first half against Warsaw, against Plymouth and Northwood, those are two different games. And we just got to find that passion every time we come out on the field every Friday night, play like that. I mean, there's guys that were just beat and had nothing left in the tank. And I said, that's how it's supposed to feel after every game. And it's too bad we're getting to the Warsaw game where we're starting to figure that out. So that's something we're continually working on in trying to change a culture here and get a winning program that competes every Friday night, a program that community can be proud of.
Last night I saw you talked about, well, not saw, but if you were listening to the game, your keys were to finish drives, limit turnovers, and penalties. And yeah, the rival game, you talk about penalties, and that first penalty though, that offsides. I mean, we were so elated, we were excited. We saw that it was that perfect onside. I referenced it was a little bit different than the Dallas Cowboys one a couple weeks ago because he kind of had side one, but everybody kind of watched it. Same kind of thing. Everybody was just watching it, waiting it. But obviously, if you're the kickoff team, you've got to wait literally until it goes 10. If you touch it early, it's a moot point. But we see that was awesome. But you go into the finishing drives. They score. They take about 6 minutes off the clock, which we knew that they were going to take time off the clock if they get a successful drive to score. Reminded me a lot of the Concord game. Concord went up 7-0. We respond, go back, Smith touchdown over the top of the safety. If you guys were tuning into that game, you remember that. We're 7-7. Same kind of thing. We put a drive together, moving the ball, executing plays, getting the end zone. And it's like, hey, we got a ball game here, 7-all. Next thing you know, they go on an option pitch, bumbled and stumbling. The defense flew around. And we even mentioned this on the radio. I mean, just tattooed the tailback who had the ball fumbling all over the place, able to recover it. Like you said, went about 17 yards, had a penalty or two, but ended up getting a 29-yard field goal, which was great. And then they came back. So, I mean, even with that 14-10 going into half, we said the same thing. I said, you got to feel really good about it. I even mentioned this on the radio again. Well, we all we do is talk on the radio. And so if you're watching, your guys coming out of the half, coming out of the locker room, you could see, I mean, they were charging out, ready to go. Here was the biggest punch in the gut, if you want to call it. Our first 2 drives on offense were 3 and out.
Yeah.
And that was a huge, I think once we had with 3 and out, we kicked to them. They score. Go 3 and out again, defense is back. And like you said, in the fourth quarter, a lot of guys were picking themselves off the mat, and they were fighting hard, but you see in that fourth quarter they start to get a little bit more worn down because that offense is just an abnormal offense you don't see as much.
Right.
It's a lot of bodying no matter what, because you're either tackling the tailback, the pitch man, the quarterback. You're tackling anything and everything, or you're getting hit by someone, and I don't know. A lot of times it felt like there was 14 guys out there blocking and tackling, but those were some positives I saw. But like you said, you put that full game together, man, it'd be a dangerous team when you start seeing that.
And that's what we talk about. I mean, we're still not there yet. And once we start to get to a point where we play like that for a full game, then people won't want to play us because we're going to be a tough out. And so that's what we're trying to work towards. We came out the second half and we had another little wrinkle, using the tight end a little bit. And first play on offense, we get about 6 yards and positive movement from the get-go, and then it stalls. And then, we're looking to punt. And we had our fake punt in all week. Previous game against Plymouth, we ran a fake punt, and it was successful. But once again, we were misaligned. Our gunner was not on the line of scrimmage, and so it was for naught. And those of you that remember last year's game, we ran a fake punt all the way down to the 1 yard line and punched it in. And so we knew Warsaw was going to be really aware of our fake punt. And so we built off our previous fake punt to a fake punt pass.
Okay, so it was.
Yes.
Because, remember?
Yeah, we wondered whether it was.
It was a hop, skip, and a jump. It was a ground ball to third baseman, and he had to pick it up. And I said it was a 50-50. It looked like he was going to pass it. Yeah. And by the time he actually corralled the ball,
that was actually a fake punt call. And we had talked about it at halftime and went over it with the kids that, that call is in play. And, if we need it, it's a way to steal a possession rather than punt it away to that offense is going to consume it for several minutes. We can keep a drive alive and possibly go down and score on that drive, and that's a double win, But it starts with the snap, and when the snap bounced on the ground, that threw it off. And then we didn't execute the play like it's supposed to be executed. There was way too many guys running through, and he just had no time to even think about throwing it. And it's really a run-pass option, but we're really thinking,
he was running because there was guys after him. It was more of a pass option, but he didn't have that.
But he would be out on the perimeter a whole lot faster on our other fake punt. Correct. And, Dom's our running back, so, that's a good situation to have. But we didn't seal the edge. The backside, we didn't touch any of those guys, and that was just a recipe for disaster. And, you put those plays in, just like your trick plays, your fakes, those things, and when they work, you look like a genius, and when they don't work, it makes you look like, what are you doing out there? But, it was in the game plan. And we had practiced it a couple times, and we felt like we could take advantage because as soon as we came up to punt, Warsaw was yelling, "Hey, well, look out for the fake! Look out for the fake!" And we're thinking, that's perfect. Come flying up on that sweep, and then we're going to throw it right over your head. And unfortunately, we just didn't execute that very well, and it started with the snap. So, again, things like that happen in a game, and you just got to shake it off and come back. And right now, we overcame in the first half a little bit of adversity, but in the second half, it's almost like, okay, there it goes, and now we're done. And so we can't do that.
You were pleased with the grit that the guys showed last night, how they left it all out there on the field. What else surprised you positively last night? What else did you see that you really liked from the Wawasee Warriors? What else did they bring that was maybe new or different, or that they did better? Something that surprised you last night?
There was, I would say that the biggest thing is just what I said before. There was kids playing as hard as they played all season, and you could tell by when they, their jerseys are all wet, they're sweating, they're hurting, they're limping around and everything, and that's the physicality of a football game. We have certain guys on our team that are like that every game. Mm-hmm. We have a core group of guys that just sell out, Cam Salazar, Nate Larson, and I can name Don Blair. I mean, those guys are just flying, and they're not perfect, but by their effort, it makes a huge difference.
And those three are all flying both ways too.
Absolutely, mm-hmm. And and then there were some more guys. There was more guys like that last night.
I noticed that,
and you don't have to be perfect, but if you have great effort, mm-hmm. that makes up for a lot, and so. We were by far not perfect. We made a lot of mistakes as we have, but the great effort helps out a lot. And so when you lose that effort and you lose that edge, and you're not fighting like you were before, that's when the bottom drops out. And
in the radio business, we say 80% of the win is just showing up. That 80% of the time, if you show up ready to go, you'll win because the other guy won't show up ready to go.
Yeah.
And you had more kids showing up ready to go last night.
Absolutely,
yeah.
And it's the Warsaw game. Mm-hmm. I don't have to say a whole lot to get them fired up for the game. It's the W Trophy. It's the Warsaw game. It's your rival. It's your neighbor. It's in some cases your friend. And you want to put on a good showing for that. And then it was homecoming, so there was that as well added to it. So the kids' attitude and effort coming out of that into that game was great and excellent, and we just need more of that.
But I think that's infectious, and I'm excited to see how that transitions into this next week into Mishawaka, because the more that they can see that on film and see the effort they're giving and see the results that it showed on certain plays, obviously not the end result you wanted, but they'll start to believe more in themselves. You can look at your record all you want, but that's not what it's about. It's about each game and finding a way to win that play. And if they start to see that, I think good things can start to happen as you transition and you start moving towards the tournament.
Absolutely.
Last night's game against Warsaw. We're moving on. Coach Reutebuch, of course, has lots of help on the sidelines. He's going to have a special guest when we come back here on Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 93.7themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 93.7themix.com. Time now for Coach John Reutebuch's special interview. Coach, you've got a special guest with you this afternoon.
We sure do. We have Mr. Jamie Salazar, a former Warrior football player and a pillar in the community. Knows a lot of people and has a lot of contacts around. I think you're the mayor of Syracuse. Is that what it is?
Not quite yet. Not quite yet.
He's looking for your vote, folks. No. Jamie is our social media guy, and he does an outstanding job. And I wanted to bring him in because it's kind of one of those people behind the scenes, even though the work he does is out there for everybody to see. We have all kinds of different things going on, everything from pictures from games to senior interviews, anything pertaining to Wawasee football. Jamie's got it out there and got a flair with it. So, Jamie, let's just talk about a couple of things that you do with social media and promoting the program.
Sure. The main focus for Wawasee football was to develop a tagline or a main focus with the transition of the new coaching staff. I worked many times and many hours in your office, just talking about different ideas, strategies, how we can kind of formulate the whole slogan of Warrior Grit. And, it started with those Warrior Grit towels and things of that nature, to kind of move the community and the mindset of the community into a more of a nation as a backing. And that's one thing I think that we're really striving to do over these last couple years is to get the community woke up and start backing up the Warrior football as it did back in the day. And I know, when Bill was on the air when I was playing football, I mean, it was the go-to thing for the community to come out, whether win or lose, they were there. Whether rain or snow, they were there. And that's one thing that I feel personally it's my duty to kind of wake up the echoes again and get the community back to where we needed to be at. So that was the main focus, main drive. And, it's important for these kids. A lot of them don't really have community support or even support in their household. So some of the things that we've implemented is presenting opportunities for them to kind of feel special, to let them know that they are important, and to give the community a chance to really know these Warrior football people and these individuals on a personal level.
Yeah, and you're doing an excellent job with that. Let's go ahead and talk about Senior Spotlight and what that is. And we've been doing that last year and this year, and there are so many positive feedback, and parents love to see their kids. And another great thing, it makes them get in front of the camera a little bit and learn
That's
how to
right.
public speak a little bit. So go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
Well, we're trying to just lay the ground. You never know. There could be the next senator or president or whoever that's getting in front of that camera, and learning how to kind of develop those communication skills is important at an early age when, like I said, a lot of the times this is their only opportunity to ever get highlighted for the accomplishments or even just being a part of a team. There's a lot of participation ribbons out there that go out these days, and it's given us a chance to kind of, hold these seniors, not really responsible, but in a sense responsible, letting them know that, hey, this is your team, this is your year, this is your opportunity to tell the community about yourself and to kind of showcase what the team's all about. I always have an opportunity for giving them a chance to speak freely and kind of talk about the week as, practice progress, what their game plan is. And it kind of, gives an opportunity to think about what their future plans, what's going to happen after the football season or what's going to happen after they graduate high school. So it really gives them a self-accomplishment. So they have an opportunity to just get out there and tell the people who they are and what they're about.
Well, I can tell you, I've got tons of great feedback and how people love that and highlight it. And it's everything from grandparents, aunts and uncles, parents, friends, and things like that. They love it, and we're going to continue to do that. That's a great feature, and it's you do a nice job of guiding them because kids kind of freeze up a little bit. They don't know what to say, and so you give them a couple things to talk about, and then those that it comes natural to, they kind of feed off of that, and those that don't, they're still not looking so uncomfortable. So that's a great feature. And then another thing that we've been probably doing more of this year than we did last year, and it's part of the growth of that social media, is highlighting our feeder programs and getting that word out. So talk about that a little bit.
Right. And as you were saying, distant family, it gives them opportunity. I mean, how many grandparents live in different states? It gives them a chance to kind of see their kid, or their grandchild, get some exposure that, normally they wouldn't. The day of the newspaper sending clippings is not really there anymore. So
Right.
This gives them a chance to see live expression, excitement, and, have something to brag about, later on. Moving to the youth programs and the middle school programs, I think it's a great opportunity for them to kind of be recognized and to let them know that, hey, there's eyes on you guys. You guys are the next generation. You guys are the next Warrior Nation that's moving up. And it creates a sense of excitement because, I mean, I know when I was that age, if my name was in the newspaper,
Yeah.
or if I'm getting interviewed by Mr. Bill Dixon here, and it's on and popping.
Yeah.
I'm on top throne.
Cloud
trying
nine,
to cloud
yeah.
nine, exactly. And that creates a sense of like, hey, I want to step it up because I want to be on the radio, or I want to be highlighted, or things of that nature. So a lot of times the kids will work harder. It's always hanging that carrot in front of them to make them, kind of move towards, going in the right direction. And I think that if we can tunnel and get their field vision focused on, buying into the program, buying into your methodologies and things of that nature, I think that it's going to look bright for the future of Wawasee football.
Yeah, and that'll be another segment we talk about, because the future does look bright. I know, we get pictures from parents and of games and middle school games, and in this time of COVID, not everybody's able to attend games.
Right.
Maybe the game's all the way over in Plymouth, and they can't. That's too far, and they get off work too late. This is another avenue where they can at least get a glimpse of the kids and their victories and just seeing them out in the uniform and having a good time and all that's going on with that. And you're right. We used to have newspaper clippings, give a brief synopsis. And this day and age, we got social media, and we got the avenues to show the scores, highlight kids that did well, and give them some pictures and really show our feeder programs of, hey, this is what's coming up. You're part of Warrior Nation. You're part of Warrior Grit, and the future looks bright. So
yeah, a part of that, I definitely need to throw an extended shout out to the Heather Griffith and Jamie Meek that have been providing a lot of the still shots,
and Ben Garden
as well with the video. So definite shout out to you. That's what Warrior Nation's all about. If somebody's not there, you're able to fill in and can continue.
And it takes a village, and that's one of the new things that when I first started coaching, there was no social media director. And in talking to some coaches in the business, what your positions are, and some veteran coaches, I was fortunate to play for a Hall of Fame coach in Tim Roth at Winnemac, and I have a lot of friends in the coaching community that gave me some good advice. And one of the things they told me is you need to have a guy that's in charge of your social media, that promotes the program and gets the word out. These days, that's how you promote your program and get some excitement built. And you've done an excellent job with that. And when it was time to think about a social media director, I mean, Mr. Salazar, you were the man, and you did such a great job with the wrestling program. I knew that you're the kind of guy we needed in that position, and you've done an excellent job. And, as I said, it takes a village. There's a lot of people behind the scenes, and that's what we want to do. We want to recognize all those people it takes a lot to put on a program and organize a program, and every little extra help you get is huge. And I don't think a lot of people realize how many people contribute and work behind the scenes to put that on, and all they see is Friday night, and they don't understand what goes into the Friday night. And coaches work hard, and the players work hard, but there's a whole lot of support. Everything from our Gridiron Club to the social media guy to our feeder programs to our video people. A lot goes into that. So I wanted to recognize Jamie here this morning and make sure that even if they somehow didn't know who you were, the job that you do for us and how you promote our program and get the good word out is great, and we need to continue to do that.
Jamie, let me ask you a question. If I went to your Facebook or your social, whatever platform you're using, what type of content am I going to find when I go there?
You'll see a wide variety. The good Lord has blessed me with numerous skills and traits, and everything from music management to radio. I do radio as well for 99.1 WSMK out there in South Bend, Michiana area. To a head Viper Wrestling club where my brother and I started this wrestling organization for the youth that was lost. We love the boxcar kids. It gives us a chance to kind of take in those that are less privileged and kind of make them champions and get them in that mindset.
But at the Wawasee football site, all right, on your social media pages for Wawasee football, what types of content am I going to find when I get there? Yeah, you're going to find everything. Well, first off, you can hit us up on our Twitter page, which I call the Dirty Bluebird, but it's Warrior Football. Wawasee Warrior Football, and then our Facebook, obviously Wawasee Warrior Football. But the content there is going to be it ranges everything from pictures, stills, action shots, the coaches' corners, another thing that we do, and that's kind of a chance for us to highlight the coaches.
other than Coach Reutebuch, to give them a chance to kind of see who they are. It's kind of like a highlight of almost like a senior pick of the week. So we highlight every coach, every different position, and a lot of times, the parents up there, they see the guys there, but they don't know who they are. So gives them a chance to highlight that. And also, there's a variety of content that pertains to Wawasee football and the community, and especially, recognizing those businesses and affiliations that allow us to, make this possible.
Warrior cards, blackout shirts, every kind of announcement that needs to be made is out there, and promoting our programs. All those things fall under that website. And so if you want to follow Wawasee football, make sure you visit our websites.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Coach John Reutebuch and Jamie Salazar. When we come back, we'll update you on what else is going on in the Wawasee Warrior football program, from the older kids to the younger kids as well. That's coming up next year on Coach's Corner with Coach John Reutebuch on 93.7 FM The Mix and 93.7themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 93.7themix.com. Bill Dixon and Michael Casey here with Coach John Reutebuch of the Wawasee Warriors. Coach, more so in football than almost any other sport, because football is such a, I'll use the dance term, choreographed operation. It is so important for, at least I think it is, you can tell me if I'm wrong, important for whatever the high level of a program is, in this case varsity football, to translate its values, more than its tactics, its values and what it finds necessary for success at the top, down to the youngest level of your football program. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And, if you're going to have success in a program, you got to build a good foundation. It's got to be from the bottom up. And changes come slow. And, when you have a program that's not quite been on the high level of battling for championships, you got to start at those younger ages. And, everybody's got to be patient enough for that change to take place. And, it takes some time to change culture. And one of the things that when I began, I knew was very important was making those contacts with those feeder programs, and having great communication with our Pee Wee program, with Eric Leffler, and that's been great. Implementing what we want to stress, and fundamentals and technique of what we're doing at the high school, and then also the middle school programs, the 8th grade and Joe Salazar and his staff, and the 7th grade with Nathan Lambert and his staff, and having meetings and give them drills and techniques, and everything from play as many guys as you can to keep them in the program, and make sure that everybody's having a good time, to specifics on what we want to stress, and the whole Warrior Grit thing. When you have that from the bottom up, then you start to see some changes, and that's not easy to do. And unfortunately, there's enough quick turnarounds out there, stories, that everybody thinks it's that easy, and it's not. We live in a fast food world where everybody wants everything right away, and sometimes it takes time to build a program. And so the future is bright. We got a lot of great things going on with our youth. Despite the COVID stuff, we found a way to power through that, and that's going to pay off in the long run for us, hopefully when we get to a more normal state. But I really like what's going on at our younger levels, and the people that I'm working with are doing a great job. So that's a positive.
It sounds like it would take an awful lot of adults to run a program that far down. If I'm John Q. adult, John Q. parent, how do I know if I've got what it takes to be that football coach? What are you looking for from that adult? Do I have to have been a starting varsity football player to play a meaningful role for you as a coach down in the Pee Wee system?
Not at all. You have to have a love for kids, and your heart's in the right place. And it's about giving the kids a great experience and teaching them a sport that gives a lot of life lessons, how to overcome adversity and how to be committed to something. And when things don't go your way, rather than pout or complain or quit, you stay after it, and eventually down the road you reap the benefits. And so there's so many great life lessons in the game of football, and that's why I love the game so much. There's also so many opportunities. You got 11 guys on the field at one time, and you got 3 different phases of the game. You got offense, defense, and special teams. So more places for kids to shine and have an opportunity to contribute to the team. And so football offers those kind of opportunities that some other sports don't. Mm-hmm. And so those things all put together makes it a great game. And so to your question, what kind of characteristics are we looking for with coaches? People that are passionate and love working with kids. People that have their heart in the right place. The X's and O's, we can teach you that. I mean, Eric Leffler has that Pee Wee program. They go through USA tackling and the whole USA program on proper blocking and tackling technique. And you know what? If they learn at that level, we can go to the next level at middle school, then the next level at the high school, and it's just like school.
So there's a system here. I don't have to know all this stuff coming in. There's a system that I can use to show these kids and make all that work.
Absolutely. And you're not going to be, hanging out trying to figure it out, looking things up on the internet. Not that the internet isn't a good place to find some things, because there's so many coaching tools and things out there. You just got to be careful of what you get and what you probably should leave alone. But again, it starts with that leadership of, here's what this program is. Like you said, a system. We have the system in place, and then we're going to teach you what you need to know about that. But the bottom line is you got to love working with kids. You got to have your heart in the right place. It's not about just wins and losses. It's about the experience and teaching these young kids life experiences, and really ultimately helping young men become or boys becoming young men and being pillars in the community and giving back to their community and good fathers, good husbands, those kind of things. And so that's what a football program, a solid football program, can do. We want to win. Absolutely. That's why you play the game. But it also has a whole lot more to it than just wins and losses.
I think what you talked about last week, or it might have been a week before, you had mentioned success doesn't happen overnight. And I believe we had a conversation. Well, I know we did. I just don't remember when it was. That I said, or we had talked about that it's not going to be where we turn it around, from year 1 to year 2, and we're 9-0 going to the playoffs. But building that progression, you've got their freshman team playing really good football right now. Your JV team beat Plymouth last week 43-0 at home. Your JV's competing against Warsaw at Warsaw today. They've had a successful season. The 8th grade has had a really good season. The 7th grade, unfortunately, wasn't able to play a couple of games. We'll talk about that more in their conference tournament in just a second. But what I'm trying to get at is knowing where you came from once you've gotten to that success, and not to say you've gotten to the top of the mountain and you're done, but getting to that and climbing up that, that patchy area, the rocky, whatever it is, the hard way to get there, knowing where you came from will only benefit your younger programs to say, listen, we were here for a while, but here's how we got to this. Here's how we got to this. And that can then become the core values of here's what we need to teach our young players, our coaches. And I know from your experience being a middle school coach and working with the Pee Wee program and now being the head coach, I know you've had experience with that. So it only gives more, I don't want to say it's a resume builder. It's the idea of say, hey, I've been there, I've done that. Here's what I've learned from that. And here's how you guys can help my program or our program out. And so I think that I just wanted to kind of point that out. That wasn't really a question or leading anywhere. It was more of a statement. So let me turn my attention to the NELMSC, the Northeast Lakes Middle School Conference. Our 7th and 8th grade football teams, Joe Salazar and Nate Lambert, the 7th and 8th grade coaches. On Thursday, there's the 4 and 5 seed. Both of our teams are in the 2nd and 3rd seed. Monday the 12th. Is when both teams will compete. Both of them will compete at Lakeview. The 7th grade will start at 5:30. The 7th grade, under the tutelage of Nathan Lambert, will play against the Lakeview Tigers on Monday. So, again, that's Monday, October 12th at Lakeview. They will play against Edgewood. The 8th grade will follow that game after our 7th grade, and they will play against Lakeview. So, both Warsaw teams will play the Wawasee Warriors. The 7th grade team will play Edgewood. who they were unfortunately unable to play at the beginning of the year due to COVID and some home helmet situations that we weren't able to get. So that game will take place on Monday at Lakeview. That's, again, Wawasee 7th grade versus Edgewood. And then following that game, they'll have a little bit of time to warm up. The 8th grade will compete against Lakeview. And so that game right there, because they're the 2nd and 3rd seed, they've already moved past that first round, which would have been Thursday. They can have the opportunity, if they win that game, to make it to the championship game that will be at Warsaw Community High School on Thursday. And so that's a neat kind of situation. That Thursday championship game will be October 15th.
So, Coach Reutebuch, 7th and 8th grade football, what's the skill level there? What if I go to a 7th and 8th grade football game, what kind of football am I going to likely see? What kind of skill level have they developed by that point?
Well, obviously they're not going to be on the same level as the high school, but there are definitely some things that are evident in the 7th and 8th grade, and it comes down to the basics of blocking and tackling, and kids hustling to the ball and giving great effort, and those are things that need to be well established before they even get to high school. It makes our job a lot easier and give us the ability to progress even farther with what we're trying to do. And so the 7th and 8th grade, due to COVID and everything, we're all behind the 8 ball a little bit as far as preparing our teams for the season. And so both teams, due to equipment issues and not having quite the amount of time they usually would have to prepare them, and with young kids, it's even harder. Start of the season was kind of rough, but the progress that they have made, Joe's got that 8th grade team rolling along, and I believe they've won their last 3 games and pretty convincing, and those kids are excited about playing football, and I've gotten the opportunity to watch them play, and I like what I see, the kids flying around, making tackles. It's about physical contact, and we're making solid tackles and blocking and making plays, and it's exciting to see that excitement. 7th grade also, we're even more behind the 8 ball with equipment issues. It wasn't delivered, and so they weren't able to
play the first 2 games.
Yeah, first 2 games, and 7th grade is the entry level to middle school, so that's even more essential that you got to get that background. And so they kind of had a late start, but Nathan's got them turned around, and I believe they've won their last 2 games, and starting to feel good about what's going on with what they're trying to do. And those are positives, and you're peaking at the right time of the season. With every team, you want to peak at playoff season. And so I'm very happy that we have a conference tournament that gets kids starting to think on those lines of, you work hard all season, and then you get your pay at the end when you have you're playing for championships.
So then you've had quite a bit of success so far this year with your freshman squad.
The freshman squad were undefeated until this last Thursday, and those kids are playing hard, and there's a lot of excitement around that group. That's a very good group with a lot of diversity as far as the type of positions. It's not just a good quarterback or a good running back or good receivers or good linebacker. It's a little bit of everything, and those kids love playing together, and there's a lot of excitement and passion for the game, and it's evident. And they've had a lot of good success. And we've had to pick up some games because other teams either don't have a freshman team or, COVID issues. And so we've had to pick up Jimtown and Elkhart to try to fill in some of those games, and they've responded very well. And Elkhart was a huge team. I mean, remember, we're combining 2 5A schools.
I was just going to say that loan, due to the fact that Plymouth doesn't have a freshman team, you traveled.
Yes.
To Elkhart High, a 6A program.
Yeah.
You merged 2 schools together. They're still smaller in Penn, but they've got about 3,500 kids.
Yes.
We took a 4A team up there. Kids probably played really hard. Don't know the final score, but it was. I'm sure it was a battle.
It was 18-7 was the final score, but it was
that's a tough game. But it was good.
It was 12-7. With 5 minutes to go, and we're driving in the 4th quarter. And so, and then also we had a pick that was called back for pass interference.
Unbelievable.
So, but no, those freshmen went up there and went toe-to-toe, did not flinch. They don't care who they're playing.
It's a good core group.
It's a real good group. And then our JV, and JV is so fluid because you're pulling guys to varsity, and you just don't know what your JV, you've coached JV before, Mike, and you know what that's like. You got to get real creative and what you do on Saturdays, but it's more about the development of the kids and getting them an opportunity to play. And like you said, they had a big victory against Plymouth that they all felt good about, and that's another good group. That sophomore group has got a lot of good young players in there that if we can keep them developing and keep them focused and get them stronger and faster and those kind of things, we're going to have success in the future.
So good success coming in the Wawasee High School football program, all the way down clear to the Pee-wees. When we come back, we'll take a look at next week's contest as the Warriors will travel to the Princess City to take on the Mishawaka Cavemen. That coming up next with Coach John Reutebuch's Coach's Corner here on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome to Coach's Corner with Coach John Reutebuch here on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com, talking football with the head football coach of the Wawasee Warriors. Coach, we look forward to this next week, preparing to travel to the Princess City to take on the Mishawaka Cavemen. Mishawaka, historically, a big-time football power.
Yeah, Bart Curtis, Warsaw's head football coach, kind of got that program turned around and built a solid foundation. And then one of his assistants, Keith Kinder, has taken over, and they really haven't missed a beat. They have been successful. They got a program built that kids are passionate and want to play, and they play that same hard-nosed football that Warsaw is playing, because that's what Coach Curtis has instilled there, and so they run the flex bone. So as far as preparation for what kind of offense we're going to face, we're going to face the same kind of offense. Now, they call the game a little bit different. They do a few little tweaks a little bit different, but it's still the same offense, and so that is something consistent. And then, Mishawaka is starting to hit the ground running here, because at the beginning of the season, they struggled on defense and struggled with some teams that were pretty good teams, like Elkhart and Mishawaka Marion, that we now know are ranked teams. And they played Warsaw, who's 6-1. I mean, they played a tough schedule, and so they got their first win against Plymouth, and it's kind of misleading.
And you couple that with the complexity of the Flexbone, which traditionally is a type of program that improves more from start to finish than some other types of programs.
Absolutely. And you could tell in Coach Kinder's comments that we'll get it together. It's going to be there by the end of the season. It just takes a little bit of time. And, when you run that system, you're going to put the ball on the ground a few times until it gets really going and running. And it looks like the last few games, it's running pretty hard, and it's going to be a challenge to stop them. The one difference between Mishawaka and Warsaw is up front. They are huge. Their offensive line is large. And so that's something to contend with. Their quarterback he's a stud. He's 6'2", 195, experienced kid, just kind of one of those everybody's All-American, does the right thing all the time, and just loves playing football. So he's going to be a big challenge as well. And then they just fly to the ball. They love playing football, and so it's going to be a big challenge facing Mishawaka up at Mishawaka at historic Steel Field. And so this is our first encounter with Mishawaka, new team to the conference, and so we look forward to this opportunity and look forward to this challenge, and hopefully we can build off some of the things that we showed in the Warsaw game the first half, and then maybe extend that, a little bit farther into the second half and have a battle on our hands.
Your defensive line played awfully hard last night against Warsaw. If they're bigger on the O-line at Mishawaka, that means they're really going to have to step up to the challenge this coming week.
Yeah, absolutely. And, bigger doesn't always mean better. It's a little bit different how you approach things. And so these kids are big and strong. So it's going to be even more important to play with leverage.
Now, what do you mean by that? Explain that.
You got to get your pads below the other guy. The low man wins. That's a basic that's taught at the Pee-wee level and the middle school level, and it's all about leverage and getting underneath somebody else's pads. And when you stand straight up, you're on ice skates. And so that is something that we've been working hard, and there's tools out there that help you work on that, shoots and things like that, where you come out of your stance and stay low and things like that. But that's what it's really about. And so just because a guy's big doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to win every battle, because a smaller guy with leverage is going to win that battle every time. And so we're trying to emphasize, because we got good size on the offensive line.
Yes,
I mean,
we do.
we're pretty large. The thing that we got to work on is our leverage, and that is something that was better last night. But when you get fatigued, that's the first thing that goes. You start standing straight up, and you start losing those techniques that you're supposed to have. And I remember the great Jimmy Johnson at Miami. Fatigue makes cowards of us all, and so it doesn't matter how good you are. Once you get very fatigued, you lose those techniques and fundamentals that you're supposed to have. And so in our conditioning, in our training, we got to maintain that leverage, because especially against a flexbone team, if they get under your pads, look out.
You mentioned in our last segment the importance of the development of your program, from Pee Wee to middle school to high school. In middle school, maybe even in Pee Wee, your size can be used to your advantage. It's not necessarily the technique, although you're working to learn how to use your hands, get off blocks and blocking in general. But like you said, once you get to the high school, you walk out there at, say, 6'7", 330. Well, that's great. But if you don't know how to block and you don't know how to move your body, that's a moot point. If you've got a 5'9", 155-pound guy that's faster than lightning. And so the idea of what you're talking about is this. We've got a big defensive line. We've got a big offensive line. They, too, have a big offensive line. It's who's going to get in the trenches, who's going to be more successful by using not only leverage, but the technique that has been taught, because both coaches are teaching technique. And that's going to be a really that's going to be the big keys to the game, in my opinion. And you got the quarterback at 6'2", 195. He's probably run it a few times. Kinder's in his third year as the head coach there. He's had a successful run, I think 23-9. They started off 0-3. They lost by 1 to Mishawaka-Marion, lost by 7 to Elkhart High, and the week after that lost to Warsaw by 8. And since that, they've rattled off 3 last night, defeating Northwood 30-16. And so, like you said, by the time we get to the end of the year, we're going to start to see that train rolling a little bit more smooth. But I like the challenge. It's the second week in a row that we're playing a wing T program. Probably a
Flexbone, not wing T.
Oh, sorry, Flexbone. My apologies. Flexbone, but the way in which they'll do things might be a little bit different.
A little bit.
And how Warsaw had done it with Coach Curtis going Warsaw. And that will be, again, it's a challenge. And understanding what we saw from our guys last night and the work that they put in, I'm sure that they are going to be ready for that challenge, and I'm excited to see how they respond.
Absolutely, and that's what we talk about. Hey, we play in a great conference, and we wouldn't have it any other way. We love being in the NLC, and each week, battling with great teams and great coaching staffs. I mean, that you're striving to be as good as you can be and as great as you can be. And how do you test that? You go against the best, and in order to be the best, you got to beat the best. And so anytime we go out on the field and compete against an NLC team, it's legit. And if you are fortunate enough to get a win against an NLC team, then you played some pretty good football. And so that's what we're striving to do. And I have said several times to the kids, and we continue to say this, embrace the challenge. Embrace the opportunity. Embrace the blessing that we have that we're still playing football. We played every single game this year, and there's a lot of teams that have not been able to do that. And
particularly in our conference, that have missed a lot.
Let that be something that we can build upon, that we've had these experiences throughout the season, and we've competed against so many different things and learned to overcome adversity and build upon that. And let's be a team that's a hard out when we come to the sectional play, and let's see where it takes us. Let's be that team that gets hot and pushes it all the way through.
You had some success throwing the ball last night. You've got to feel good about being able to bring that up against a Mishawaka team that is more rush-oriented.
Yeah. They've given up some points this year, and, passing is what we do well. We have some weapons out there in the perimeter. Adam Beer and Cam Salazar and Jacob Meek and Lucas Ringler and you even throw the tight end from time to time, Zach Smith. So we have some weapons, and even to the backs. And so passing is something that we do well. Unfortunately, we are still looking for our run game. And sometimes you have to pass to open up the run for yourselves. And so we know what we are right now. That's not where we want to be, but we know what we are right now. And so that's where we got to build from, pass the ball to set up the run and try to be a little more balanced that way and use your weapons that you have.
You had great balance among your receivers last night.
And when we've moved the ball, that's what we have. And we're not just focused on one guy, and that makes us dangerous. We have a lot of weapons that we can use. It's just a matter of sustaining drives, staying away from those penalties and turnovers. We can move the ball. We can move the ball on anybody. And so that's what it's got to take is, that discipline and that focus, and we can do some damage on offense. So we look forward to this opportunity.
I'm looking forward to seeing us go up there and put a full game together. We've seen a lot of the positives in the first half. We've seen a lot of the positives in the second half. It would be just really encouraging for you and your coaches, all the work that you've put in, and obviously for the players too, all the work that they've put in, to finally see it all come together. And that's so tough in this world of high school sports because it is so up and down, and you never know with how a kid does in class on that day might affect him in the game. You never know, but I'm encouraged that seeing the things that I saw last night in certain parts of the game, I'm seeing it starting to click. And I just want to see that extend even more so throughout the entirety of the game. And I'm really looking forward to going up to Steel Field in the Princess City of Mishawaka and enjoying a nice football game. And it will be crisp, as it was last night.
Well, and we also have to consider, injuries play a big part. Unfortunately, I heard Northwood's quarterback has a knee injury, probably out for the season, and that's unfortunate. And if you remember last season, we had a multitude of injuries, and that really crippled our team on what we were able to do. And for the most part, knock on wood, we've been able to stay away from very many injuries. We've had some key guys be hurt here and there, but for the most part, we're a fairly healthy team right now. And like you said, things are starting to click into place, and hopefully we can put that game together because, especially in high school football, any Friday night, you can get beat or you can win, and it's just how the ball bounces and how well you play.
It's the building of that belief.
Yes.
Coach John Reutebuch, wish you well next week as you take on the Mishawaka Cavemen at Mishawaka. This is Coach John Reutebuch's Coach's Corner as we talk all things Wawasee Warrior football on 93.7 FM The Mix and 93.7themix.com, WRWTLP, Syracuse.